Hello everybody, here I am again. Well, I don't know, I feel like I have enough material to make like 15 videos today. Probably won't really actually make that happen, but okay. This is going to be totally off of like nothing I've been talking about lately, or maybe really haven't ever really talked about ever before. I guess to a certain degree, I probably won't take this as deep as I should or could, because in a way it's a pearl and I really don't even want to cast it out to the swine. So kind of fought internally on ever bringing up this kind of stuff at this stage of the game, because well, I shouldn't be casting pearls to swine. So, you know, like there's been this internal fight, because, well, I do think it's important information enough that some of you out there deserve to have it, and I don't really know how else to get it to you. And to a certain degree, kind of felt lately like maybe I should just change the angle of certain, like kind of start delivering some other messages besides maybe the common thread of most of my videos so far. There's some Christian YouTubers out there that are kind of on the, what do you call it? I don't know how to put it, but they're out there, they're kind of helping others fight the spiritual battle. Maybe they themselves have, you know, collected some of the, not all of the full armor of God. Like, no offense, but I've never seen anybody who actually had the full armor of God. I had it so long, like I took it off. I don't really need the full armor of God. Like, I have such a great relationship with our Heavenly Father that I have His hand of protection over me at all times. So, do I really even need it? I don't know that I do. But really, it is something that you need to have it. And some people have gained maybe parts of the armor and not other parts, or maybe they had all the armor at one time or another, but they never really had all the armor all at the same time. And so by being more equipped than maybe just your average preacher, preaching John 3:16 or whatever, salvation and whatnot, but actually some of these YouTubers out there are doing their best to help, like, kind of maybe not actually fight the good fight, but like help others in fighting their own fights, like helping others endure. And so they break into this, which is totally the truth, that, you know, you can manifest evil things by your tongue. That's so true. Like, you control everything with your tongue, but generally your tongue actually controls you. And it is true that the scriptures, no man has control over his own tongue. He really doesn't. If you're letting your Heavenly Father speak through you, well, you're all good. But if not, well, then eventually your tongue's going to betray you. It'll turn on you. It'll tell on you. And but anyway, I digress there. It's like, to speak something negative into being is a total reality. Like, years ago, like, I don't know, 35 years ago or something, or whatever, I don't know. I was probably like 10 years old, I think, at the time, and a friend of mine, he you know, was probably already, him and I had a lot in common, and maybe really didn't quite respect life enough. Well, I think most of the human race doesn't respect life enough, but most of the human race doesn't even respect life at all. But he said, it's so weird that, I mean, I could still remember it just like it was yesterday. It's like, and I never once brought this up to him, but he's like, oh, well, whatever, such and such. I don't even remember the conversation, but I totally remember him saying, well, you know, everybody's got to die sooner or later. And like that night, his mom died in a car accident or something. And well, I never once brought it up to him, but when I found out that his mom had passed away, like the last thing I ever heard him say, this was like at the end of the school day, before like he gets on his school bus and I get on my school bus, I remember him saying that. And then the next day at school, I found out his mom died. And the last thing I had ever heard him say was, well, you know, whatever, everyone has to die sooner or later, or something like that. It was, you know, like ironic. Like I stumbled onto, like, is there a possibility, you know, like in 6th grade or something, I don't know, is there a possibility that he spoke that into being, you know, kind of thing. And there is no doubt that you can manifest things with your tongue negatively, and the devil is like kind of more forgiving about that than even our Heavenly Father is. Like, you can speak something really good into being as well, but that might not necessarily happen if you're not on the narrow path. Like, you could be anywhere on the wide path and there's everywhere to be, still manifest evil. It's not as easy to manifest good, you know, love, because, well, the tongue betrays everyone, and everyone's been betrayed by someone else's tongue, and, well, all men are liars. And so, like, even the word love is so overused that no one even trusts it when they hear someone else say it. That doesn't really mean anything. It has no meaning or value. Anyway, speaking evil into being, well, like, you don't have to be a Christian at all to kind of almost comprehend that. Like, you don't have to. It seems to me like a good total atheist psychologist totally gets that. Let's say they're teaching that in the universities, and I'll go beyond that here. I'll come back to that. It's the Muslims, really, I think, and the Jews who don't really comprehend that fully. The Christians are more onto the realm of manifesting through speech, both good and evil. But going back to, like, let's just say a total atheist, non-religion, no religion at all, like a psychologist, let's say, has been taught that, like, if they have a patient, let's say, that's got psychological problems or whatever, or you know, whatever, they're going to a shrink, let's say, because they, you know, they got some kind of issue, that the state of the mind of the patient can determine, like, a downward spiral based off of just negative thoughts. They don't have to speak it into being. You could think it into being. You can actually, without ever speaking I'm not taking away from the power of the mouth and the power of the word and the power of the tongue. There's power of the pen as well. It's not as powerful as the tongue. But the power of the mind has been studied in both the negative and the positive realms. How much can you manifest with positive thinking? How much can you manifest with negative thinking? You could be on soaring upward on positive thinking because you fell in love with somebody, or you got a promotion or something, you know, an opportunity, a door opened up for you, and all of a sudden you're in a positive frame of mind. Just as much as one more negative thing happens to you, and it's just, you know, just one more negative thing just continue, that kicks you down and kicks you down to a point that your negative thought pattern becomes its own downward spiral, and you manifest, I hate to use this word, your own bad luck or your own good luck. Like, this can be seen in, you know, sports. You can witness it happening other places in reality, in our world, where psychologically, in a sport game, it's a psychology, you know, like a psychological reason why a team maybe lost that game, or why a team maybe won that game. And you can see it in pregame, or you can see it in halftime, like you can see it on their faces. They manifest the outcome of that game kind of to a certain degree, you know what I mean? Like, you can see they've tapped out, they've given up, they've lost. You can see it in their eyes. The whole human race is that way all the time with everything. My point is I've experienced countless times where I could manifest something into being without speaking it into being, just by thinking it into being. Like I said, the atheist psychologist that's graduating from the university and has nothing to do with God, to a certain degree, well, they comprehend that to be the truth. They may not comprehend it to be a spiritual thing, but they still you know, if someone's an entrepreneur cutting a new path versus, you know, somebody who, you know, can't get off the heroin or something like that. I mean, you know, or whatever. They got an addiction to Prozac or Xanax or something, you know, or whatever. Or whatever problems they have, gambling or what, you know, woman after woman or man after man, you know, whatever. Just, you know, there's a billion problems that are manifest. Like, you're doing that to yourself. Even to the state of global problems, you know, in every way is an escalation of the collective soul of the human hive, let's call it, you know what I mean? My relationship with our Heavenly Father is good enough to know that, well, there's nobody else out. None of you actually have that relationship. I do. You don't. You may have some varying degree of it, but not to the point of, well, I'm completely confident that, well, Christ said that the one that came after him would do greater than him. Well, I kind of already have. And I know that I will. And what you guys haven't even seen, well, that's not my fault. What you haven't heard, that's not my fault. I've said way more than is recorded that Christ said. And I've had to explain things that, well, he didn't say. And, but you don't have to tell the mountain to be laid low. You don't have to tell the fig tree to shrivel up and die. You could think it into happening. I'm only here to bring you guys a warning. I don't have to verbalize the warning for it to happen. I could speak something into being, let's say, and it wasn't recorded to you all, but I did it anyway. I could think it. There doesn't have to be a witness. The birds of the air, the grass here, these goats, whatever, they witness what I say, but my Heavenly Father witnesses what I think. See what I mean? Like there's that conduit constantly. Like I said, I don't really pray that often because, well, I'm always in a state of with Him, within me, anyway. So I don't necessarily have to speak something into being. I could think it into being. You guys can do the same thing, you just don't comprehend it that way. A psychologist that has nothing to do with the spiritual realm at all, he's just studying the mind, the brain, human psychology, etc. He's even come to terms with that. That the power of the mind can manifest positively or negatively. And even though it may appear like that's just within the realm of that one individual's mind, it's not. Collectively, the human race has become just a huge cluster of losers. Of course, there's still entrepreneurs and people out there that haven't lost their minds completely, but in gist, the hive, it just needs smoked out and burned down. I mean, it's worthless. See what I mean? Like they can't get their mind out of constantly being godless. Constantly. Did COVID really exist, or did they just manifest that? See, in my realm, it didn't really exist. I don't walk around fearing I'm going to get COVID. See what I mean? I'm not worried about going out and getting a vaccine to prevent myself from getting COVID. And just the whole realm, and anyone who's kind of at least Christian, I don't know too much about the Jews and the Muslims, well, they know that. Most people probably feared that the vaccine was the mark of the beast or whatever. So, you know, with it being basically kind of mandatory, everybody wanted to avoid it. But to me, it's like it had nothing to do with that. I avoid putting faith into anything that's not my Heavenly Father. I don't need to go to some doctor and get pills or shots or anything like that. I have faith in our Heavenly Father to the point that, like, I manifest my own healing if something happens. I mean, I'm out here doing stuff. I suffer injuries. I pray to heal, like, instantly, pretty well. I mean, every once in a while I might have overwork something, and the next morning I wake up with a lingering pulled muscle or something. But generally, you know, your own state of being, your health, your strength, it's all manifest. So going back to the everyone has to die sooner or later, and I'm running out of time here, that's not the truth, but you all believe it to be the truth. See, I went from feeling like, well, I just can't die yet, our Heavenly Father has plans for me, to understanding that I can't die, to thinking that I won't die, to coming back to terms that I just can't, it's impossible, like I won't die. Like I'm the only person to have ever done that, right? I haven't proven that yet, but the point is nobody else does that. You all believe that sooner or later you're gonna die. All Christians do the same thing. It doesn't matter if they believe in John 3:16 or not. They just think that's something to do with Judgment Day. They still basically comprehend sooner or later, unless Christ returns, I'm gonna die. I'm out of time, guys. I'll come back later.